Greetings and bienvenue, MITZU. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Good morning /x/. I want to tell you something that's been happening to my girlfriend and me lately, but mainly to me. I've told fragments of the story here at some points, but I wanted to write the full thing because I left some things out, and a bit too much has been happening in the last couple of weeks. I'm not green texting since I suck at it, but here it goes. Hope you guys can help me identify whatever it's going on. First things first, I'm briefly describing the house I've been living in with my girlfriend for the past couple of years because it's important for some parts of the story. It's a 2-story house. Well, 3 stories if you count the basement that's accessible via a dark corridor and a set of stairs. We mainly use it as a hobby room since I'm into miniature wargaming and board games. The main floor has a kitchen, a bathroom, and 2 other rooms we use as dining room or living room. The top floor has another bathroom, our bedroom, and a hall with a big couch we use as an improvised guest room. The first 2 weird things that happened to me were kind of similar. My girlfriend likes to go out at night from time to time, but I don't usually join her since I became fed up with the usual nightlife due to some personal experiences. One of those nights, some 3 or 4 months ago, my girlfriend went out and I decided to watch a couple of videos and call it a night. Since I was waking up early the following morning, the girlfriend told me to not worry because she would sleep on the big couch upstairs so as to not wake me up. So I just watched a couple of YouTube videos, enjoyed a slice of pizza, took a shower, and went to bed. I fell asleep pretty quickly but woke up because I needed to go to the bathroom. Looked at the clock, 1:34 a.m. I opened the bedroom door and went to the bathroom half asleep. When I finished, I realized my girlfriend was laying on the couch and I heard a faint hey coming from her. I decided to pretend I didn't hear her because I'm generally pretty pissed at everything and everybody when I first wake up and kept walking towards the bedroom. I heard another hey but ignored it as well. I know I can be hard to deal with sometimes. So I closed the door behind me, went back to bed, and fell asleep. The phone alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., and when I turned it off I saw a list of messages from my girlfriend from the night before. One of them was her wishing me good night. Another 2 were pictures of her with her friends, and the last one was her telling me she was waiting for a cab to pick her up. That message was sent at 4:12 a.m. I found that weird since I clearly heard her when I woke up to use the bathroom, but just felt it was my imagination, that I must have misread the clock or it must have stopped during the night. Whatever happened, I didn't think of it as paranormal, but knowing the rest of the story, I clearly view it as such now. Second story, as I said, was pretty similar and happened the following Saturday. Same as the last time, my girlfriend was going out again because it was one of her friend's birthday, but didn't think she would stay till late because she was pretty tired from the rest of the week. I hadn't told her anything because at that point I didn't think there was much to tell really, and I was enjoying the time alone. As per usual, she left at 10:30 p.m. and I had a salad, played a couple of Age of Empires games, took a shower, and went to bed. I didn't work the following day but was waking up early because I had firmly decided to start running in the mornings to get in shape. So that night I told the girlfriend to come to bed whenever she came back. I read a book for some time and fell asleep. I'm not a heavy sleeper, so any faint noise usually wakes me up. I woke up to the sound of steps walking upstairs, the typical sound you make when you walk on wood barefoot. As soon as the sound reached the last step of the stairs, it kinda ran or hopped towards the bathroom and back again and immediately began descending. I figured she had forgotten something downstairs, so I just turned around and began to doze off. The whole house was silent again until I heard the front door opening and the sound of someone walking on heels. Front door closed, and for what I could hear, my girlfriend took her heels off, grabbed them, and started walking upstairs. She went to the bathroom, opened the bedroom door, and fell asleep next to me. I was pretty confused, so I asked her what she was doing running up and down the stairs. She just said, "Huh?" and told me what I was on about because she had just arrived home. At that point, I started to believe, half jokingly and half seriously, that something was going on. My girlfriend took a couple of weekends of partying and decided to stay at home and visit her parents the following weekend. Saturday morning, I had lunch with a couple of friends and then spent the afternoon painting some miniatures. Usually when I go to the hobby room, I close the basement door because I play loud music, which not everybody likes. As diner time was approaching, I cleaned my brushes and left the room. As I was walking through the corridor right before the stairs, I saw light under the closed door and thought, damn, I left the lights on. I was walking up the stairs when I noticed a shadow covering the light. It came from the right, stood right in front of the door as if someone was standing at the other side of the door, and moved to the left. I stood there because I thought it was impossible that it was my girlfriend, since she was visiting her parents a couple of hours away from home. I silently went downstairs, picked up the first thing I saw to use as a weapon, and started heading upstairs. I hadn't noticed the change, but when I opened the door, the lights were off. There was some light coming from outside, but not much since it was late evening. I did a whole tour around the house and found nobody, all doors and windows closed. So I decided to sleep on the sofa with the TV on that night. Left the improvised weapon nearby just in case. I'm going to add a couple of dreams I've had since this happened. At this point, I'm not sure what's real and what's coming from my imagination, so I'm just posting this in case it helps some fellow anon identify whatever's going on. First dream I vividly remember was actually sleep paralysis. I tend to suffer from that from time to time, but never experienced anything aside from the paralysis itself. This time we were sleeping and started dreaming someone was staying the night with us. Suddenly someone opened the door, came rushing inside the bedroom, jumped on the bed from one of its sides and grabbed my arm. At that point I was awake but couldn't move at all. I thought, oh well, typical stuff, fuck me, but kept dreaming. Whoever that was grabbing my arm was trying to lift me up and screaming right in front of my face. I somehow knew it was a female, but nothing more. Couple of seconds went by and I fully woke up and tried to catch my breath. It was a weird experience and the first time I had sleep paralysis combined with hallucinations. Second dream I had was a bit less weird. I noticed it was the same girl from the sleep paralysis. Didn't see her face, didn't find anything horrific about her, but the dream ended once she started biting my leg for some reason. As I said, I'm posting this as a filler, since at this point I'm not sure which parts have some sort of connection and which don't. Both dreams could be related to the fact that I was starting to think there was something paranormal going on, and that could very well be it. Next thing is not something that happened to me, but this time I'm 100% sure it's related. So my girlfriend has a sister who is married and has a 7-year-old kid and a 9-year-old girl. They stay with us some Friday nights from time to time because my girlfriend likes to fulfill her aunt duties and leave her sister some time to make plans with her husband. We usually have a good time. We play board games, order food, and they show us whichever anime they're watching at the moment. We played hide and seek, but contrary to what you might think, nothing paranormal came from that game. We grabbed a couple of sleeping bags as usual and left them sleeping next to the couch that's next to our bedroom. We left the door open again as usual just in case, but those kids never gave any trouble. Night went on as usual and they left the next morning when her mother came to pick them up. My girlfriend told me they were acting weird during breakfast, but I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. The weird part happened a couple of days later. My girlfriend's sister apparently called her saying she had to speak with her kids because she noticed something was going on. They were acting weird. She asked my girlfriend what kind of horror movie we watched when the kids stayed with us. Of course, we wouldn't show the kids any horror movies, mainly because I don't find movies scary anymore, and my girlfriend doesn't really like them. Her sister wasn't angry or anything, just jokingly told my girlfriend what her kids had told her. Apparently, her son asked her not to leave them at our house again, because when he went to the bathroom right after we woke up, he saw 2 legs walking in the corridor. Just 2 legs. His sister wasn't as scared, but said she didn't like the man that lived with us. Girlfriend's sister just said they would wait for some time until the kids stayed with us and just thought it was their imagination, but didn't want to cause us trouble, just in case they came running to us in the middle of the night or something. Got 2 other stories, but I guess after that, that's it. I should mention at this point, when my girlfriend heard her nephew's stories, she started having some weird dreams as well. More like nightmares that involved her dog dying or her sister killing her sons. I would attribute those nightmares to her being a bit paranoid. Anyways, the next thing that happened was one day when I was coming home from work. I parked the car a couple of minutes from home and started walking. It was pretty dark outside. When I turned, I noticed our bedroom window was illuminated and thought my girlfriend was home early that day. I saw a shadow walking to the window and looking out of the window. I waved my hand at what I thought was my girlfriend and she waved back. Right after she waved, she started acting very eerily. She first raised her arm to a 90-degree angle and then pointed at the neighbor's house as she shook her head repeatedly. I thought, WTF are you doing, you psycho? And opened the front door. I yelled, hello, and walked upstairs to change clothes. Bedroom lights were off and nobody was inside the room or the house for that matter. Girlfriend came home about an hour and a half later, and at that point I felt necessary to tell her what was happening. Okay, last one for now, and I hope the thread will not die because I honestly need answers. If those answers are, dude, you're a fucking schizo, and there's nothing going on, so be it. But I need to know what's happening. As I said, I had a talk with my girlfriend, and that's when she told me about her nightmares. Apparently, she hadn't witnessed anything paranormal, but agreed that my mood had changed. So the last story happened last week. I was working at home since we had a pretty big project going on, and our team had to work extra hours. It was approximately 7 p.m. since that's the time I go to the kitchen and grab a snack to get me going till dinner. I grabbed an apple, opened the kitchen window, and looked outside to give my eyes some time to rest. I heard the computer WhatsApp app going off a couple of times, so I felt rest was over, and someone from work was trying to contact me. I turned the kitchen lights off, and as I was walking towards the living room, I felt as if someone was watching me. The kind of feel you get when you're in the middle of the woods. Didn't see anything or hear anything, but I started feeling the need to get out of the house and run as far as I could. Like I was physically fighting the urge to throw the apple and run. I heard the creaking sounds from upstairs, but those could be the wood slabs expanding due to change of temperature. I tried to calm down and walk to my computer. The whole time I was frantically moving my head left to right because I had the feeling something was about to jump me at any time. I had goosebumps. At some point, while I was walking in front of the dining room, I swore I saw someone standing on the sofa, but I wasn't willing to double check. I managed to get to the computer, answered a couple of messages saying I wasn't feeling well, and left the house. Next thing I remember was picking up the phone next to a Five Guys because my girlfriend was calling me asking me where I was. So I just need some advice on what to do. I've considered telling my girlfriend to look for another house to rent, but I just can't justify moving. Why? House is great. I have my own space for hobbying. We talked about buying the house at some point whenever we get married. I just want to know what to do next. Up until that last story, I was curious about what was happening. After how I felt last week, I'm terrified. Not much has happened, mainly because I just come near my house to sleep at night and use any excuse to stay away. Bear in mind, I know nothing about the matter, other than some bits I've picked up from /x/ whenever I lurk around here.
Do you sleepwalk? Maybe it's a very vivid sleepwalk dream, or did you have a particularly high fever in any of these instances? I used to have fevers as a kid, where I'd hallucinate non-existent shadow men in my house. Based on your story, I guess both of these are pretty unlikely. I'm just trying to figure out something that's not, bro, the house is haunted.
I've never sleepwalked, but again, I had never experienced vivid hallucinations during sleep paralysis, so anything's possible, I guess. I'd be so glad if that was the case, like if it was a gas leak or, I don't know, just stress that made me imagine things.
Doesn't seem like stress would cause this out of the blue. Very weird. Have you tried putting cameras in the places where you see them most often? Maybe that would shed some light on whatever's going on.
After watching hours upon hours of footage, I don't really have the time at the moment, and I haven't even seen anything properly. I've heard stuff and felt pretty endangered around the house at times, but the only thing I saw was that shadow last week, and I'm not even sure about seeing it. I thought about the cameras for a hot second at the beginning, and felt stupid even imagining myself telling my girlfriend. I've considered talking to a friend though. She's into paranormal stuff, does a lot of urbex, and does Ouija in some abandoned buildings she explores with her group. I'd feel much less stupid doing a seance, I guess. I know nothing about the matter, so if, a big if, this is paranormal, I'm not sure if there are beings that are angered by Ouija, and the possibility of making it even worse than it is right now is kind of frightening.
You wouldn't have to watch the whole thing. You could set up a camera, and then when you think you saw something, check the footage at that time to look for anything weird. Could be an intruder or someone playing a prank on you. Seances and Ouija boards require trust in the other person. I know she's your friend, but people can believe what they want to believe and influence these things. Video could provide hard evidence.
Yeah, I've heard that one before. Not sure she would be one of those people who move the piece on purpose just to make you think your house is haunted. I don't know. I might give it a try before investing in cameras.
It was October, the end of a very warm Indian summer. A bunch of us kids sat milling around in a field behind a neighbor's house trying to decide what to do on such a boring, lackluster day. As I was watching the sky, I noticed a bunch of buzzards, which wasn't unusual, but what seemed weird was that they were circling around, attacking another very large bird. The buzzards were relentless dive-bombing this strange white-colored bird, which had to have had a wingspan of about 20 feet. Never have I ever seen such a large bird that never flapped its wings. Anyway, there were about 6 of us. We decided to go digging. Everyone scattered, running home to gather shovels, hoes, and even a pickaxe. This was California in 1964 in the small town of Danville. Population of just 6,000 people. To the west of us is Mount Tamalpais, a low-level hilly ridge with a massive oak tree at the very top in the shape of a grizzly, which we called the Bear Tree. Below, on the valley floor, meandered a small creek, Walnut Creek. It was a child's paradise filled with pollywogs, small fish, and handmade rafts. Directly to the east lies the most distinctive geological feature of the East Bay called Mount Diablo, a single mount rising nearly a mile high and filled with sandstone caves. It was the source of many legends of Native American inhabitants on the mountain performing rituals. Well, we all rejoined in the field and commenced digging at an agreed-upon spot. Shovels, picks, and hoes flailing, dirt flying in all directions, and it was a wonder that no one was gouged to death. Then it happened. While I was using the shovel, jumping on the top of the blade, I hit something quite large and soft. The blade sank into this thing, and blood started oozing out, covering the soil, forming a wet, messy bog. We all jumped out of the hole we were digging in and tried to see what the object was. It was a toad, but no ordinary toad. No, sir, this toad had to be as large as the blade of my shovel. I was so upset, and without saying goodbye, I turned around and headed home. It was that night that the idle life of this boy would take a very sinister turn. I shared a room with my younger brother. He had the upper bunk and I was on the lower of the wooden bunk. We turned in and I fell into a restless sleep when suddenly, startled, I awoke to see that in the dim light what I can only describe as a very large hand, with 3 long fingers, right in my face. I quickly covered my head under the blanket when a swampy, sickly smell of blood assailed my senses. I let out a scream, jumped up and started running. The house we lived in had 3 bedrooms, very long, with 3 bedrooms at one end, followed by a long hallway to the living room and kitchen. As I ran out of my room, I could see a light at the end of the hall where the door was located in the living room. I made for the light, running as fast as I could, but the faster I ran, the walls of the hall began extending forward. After what seemed like an eternity, I finally could not run anymore, and as I collapsed, I felt this giant hand around my legs start dragging me back to my room. It was very big. I was so terrified I was paralyzed. Then this thing pushed me under the bed where my last memory was me peering out from the recess of the floor under the bed to see 2 large red slits looking back at me. For 3 straight nights I endured this, what I assumed was a nightmare. After the 3rd night, no more of the night terrors, but the funny thing was that after the 3rd night, I awoke to find my entire body covered in warts. The doctor said he had never seen a case of warts as severe as mine.
When cell phones first started to get popular, my mom bought me, my sis, and herself all a new cell phone, on the condition that if she called that, we always answer no matter what. No excuses, every time. One night I was walking up my long country driveway after we had a big snowstorm. I had a 2WD car and couldn't make it up, so I would park at the bottom. I started walking and my phone went off. It was a text from my mom, but there was no message, just a blank screen. As I was holding it, the phone went off again and again and again, one after another, about 10 times. All text messages from my mom with no message, just blank. I was thinking, what the hell is this? Then my phone rang right when I was at the door. It was my mom. I said hello, and the first thing she said was, "I have been texting you. Why didn't you respond? Where are you? What are you doing?" I said, "Mom, I am literally walking in the door right now." Which I was. Most nights my mom slept on the couch because my dad is a crazy dreamer. He would kick and punch my mom in his sleep. The couch was perfectly visible from the front door when you walked inside my house. Anyways, all the lights were off in my house as I walked in. I was just telling my mom I was walking in the door. She said she really needed to talk to me when I got inside, to come talk to her. I was kicking off my shoes at that point, and I couldn't see anything. I said, "Okay," and my mom said, "I love you." I said, "I love you too," the moment I was flipping the light switch to the walk-in light inside my house where everyone took off their shoes. I was literally looking at my mom fast asleep, snoring on the couch as I was saying, "I love you too." Then I was looking at my mom sleeping as I heard the phone click from the caller on the other end hanging up. It couldn't have been my mom. I was so confused and scared and just in shock. My brain could not compute what happened. As I was standing there shaking and trying to grasp what happened, I could hear my mom moaning in her sleep. She was obviously having a bad dream, a nightmare. I turned on the living room light and I shook my mom awake. She flew up into a sitting position in a panic, tears in her eyes. She was in full mom panic mode. She said she was having the worst dream, that I had been killed in a car crash. She explained how she was desperately trying to call me and text me in her dream, but she couldn't dial the numbers right. No matter how hard she tried to open up a line of communication with me, she couldn't get her cell phone to work right. Which I have had the same kind of nightmare myself. Utter frustration and panic. As she told me about her dream, I must have turned white from pure shock and confusion. She noticed and asked me what was wrong with me. I told her what happened, how she had texted me a bunch of times with blank messages back to back 10 times, and I also told her about the phone call. I told her exactly what happened. We were just dumbfounded is the only way I can put it. Just pure confusion and excitement at the same time. There are no words to describe the way I felt that night. We decided to look at our call history on our phones, but there was none. It was like it never happened, but it did happen. As sure as the sky is blue, I know it happened. My mom knew I was telling the truth too. When the phone bill arrived that month, there was no record of what happened in the statement either. Super strange, super weird. I will never forget what happened that night. It changed me forever. I don't discount crazy stories people tell because I know crazy shit and impossible shit happens. I know because it happened to me.
Nightmare I had was me waking up from a nap after browsing and getting up to get a snack. I opened my bedroom door and entered the hallway, only to wake up. That's weird, I thought to myself. I get up after my nap with the weird dream and enter the hallway. I wake up again. Whoa, what a weird dream. Never had 2 dreams at once. I get up, enter the hallway. I wake up again. Now I'm thinking to myself that I'm either in a dream again or I'm finally up this time. I walk out into the hallway and it happens. I wake up one last time. Finally, I was awake. I just stayed in bed and waited to wake up. I believed that I was still dreaming since those past dreams felt so realistic. I could think freely in those past dreams. That moment of my life fucked me up for a few weeks mentally. Never had a dream like that before and haven't had one like that for the past 3 years.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.